All right, Jake Paul, Jake Paul, and Tank Davis came onto the scene last night over in Miami. I must say, a much better press conference than New York. And my takeaway is a lot of people are going to have a pushback with this fight. And I did at first. Now, but I discovered something, Otis, and welcome aboard. For those of you who do not know my co-host, he is the man, two-time world champion, my man Otis Griffin. Special shouts out to you, brother. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, I wanted first and foremost because I was going to get right into throwing it, tossing it out there, what I thought about the fight at first, and then I wanted your take. But really, I want you to lead because you fought, and you fought in an era where fighters fought. You really are the last of the Mohicans. Back in the days after you guys followed great fighters like really Ray Leonard and all of those guys, Livingstone Bramble, Gerald McClellan, the Hulk. You know what I'm
Ooh,
saying? Julian Jackson. I mean, you followed an era that was tremendous, and you guys brought another era, and that era really closed it out with authentic fighting. But this is the day that we do sports science and we go behind training. And so there are spectacles in the sport, and there are people who are, let's just say, versed in experience in it. And Otis is versed in experience when it comes down to sports, and physically he was the avatar, so he knows it. So when you thought of this fight, exactly where were you with it?
well, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, and I can't really fluff it as much as I would want to. I just got to be honest. I never
Yeah.
thought of it as a real fight, and I really thought of it as like a publicity stunt by Jake Paul. Just as he said that every time there's a fight that comes out, he always tries to grab the media by saying that, oh, that fight's off, that he's really the person fighting, or he's fighting this person. So I thought he was just trying to grab attention as usual.
Hmm.
But then they made the fight a very real thing. I feel a couple ways about it. Financially, I can't really fight Tank as far as taking the fight, because that's what we are, right? When you get to a certain level, you're a boxer, you're a contender, you're a champion, you're a elite, world beater or a decades type champion, and then you're a prize fighter, and Tank is prize fighting. So I think of it like, if you think of it as prize fighting, then great. Um, Things that I have a problem with, um, the weight and size difference is insane, um, and I don't even know if what the rules are, but if they count it as a real fight for Jake Paul, then I have a problem with that.
It's very interesting that you say that. It was more like a publicity stunt. That's what it felt like. It felt like, I'm gonna reach for names, but he'd actually had Tank on his hit list. And last night, so one of the main things in the questions, because I'm gonna get into the actual science, because this is why people watch what we do on this conversation, and we've had a multitude of really good upcoming fights that we were able to bring highlight and shine on. What should an athlete do? Because the bottom line is, that's what we're here to tell people, what an athlete should do. Because guess what, whether we are fans of the fight itself or not, what we have to do is let you know what you would do if you were fighting somebody 40 pounds your senior. So that's the bottom line. Tank got to go put in the work. Tank, he cannot not fight. And I think last night it was apparent when he was asked, "Are you taking this fight serious?" He was like, "Look at him. Wouldn't you?" Like, I'm not playing facts. And so, sorry, camera went out. But he took it extremely serious. He is not playing, and he literally. Let me try my FaceTime. 1 second. Let me see. No, that ain't gonna work. I don't want that angle. I'll just switching my camera. But he said, and he meant it because I'm there. I'm right there. Like, so I realized he's making sure that during the bets and all the shenanigans and his coach, and I'll talk about exactly what Coach Calvin Ford said, and then also got to see Derek James. So I'm going to give you guys some of the behind the scenes because most of this was not on the actual production of the show, even though there's just we have a lot of content that'll be going out over the next 4 or 5 days that will bring a lot of clarity and some real true answers to this. So, but what Tank made clear was, I really got to do this. Like, from New York to here, something changed. Something changed. And I got to see one of the most transitional 24 hours that I've seen in mostly all the sports. And so when I talk about what do you need to do when you're fighting against a guy who's much heavier than you, this is a common thing. If you go back just a few years ago, Floyd Mayweather fought his brother, Logan Paul, and Logan Paul's a heavyweight in the WWE as a wrestler now. So when you understand what you're up against, it's a possible thing because it's been done and it's been done throughout time. You realize when you go back to Rocky 3, when he fought against Hulk Hogan, rest in peace.
Lucius Thunderlips.
Thunderlips. When he go up against Thunderlips, he had to get in a different kind of condition. And you got to do different things. So number one, Otis, you always talk about, when we talk about muscle, I want you to run through the regimen that your trainer took you through physically with your muscle training, so boxer athletes can understand how that they can, the method in which they can actually train themselves using weights without bulking up too much and slowing themselves down and exacerbating the oxygen levels that'll be depleted if you put too much muscle on. So tell them that routine. I love it to death. I always refer back to it. I didn't use exactly that method, something similar, but I had a variation of what you were doing. So shoot it to him, and everybody get your pens out because he breaks this down.
Well, it really all goes back to, and I have to give credit where credit's due, is John Tandy, who was at the time was up at Big Bear, or just under Big Bear, a place called the Rim of the Mountain at Lake Arrowhead, up there at Tandy and John Tandy and Talon Boxing, the gym up there. So what he did was, I of course came over from football, and I'm a much more bulkier person, almost like a Ike Biabuche, or what's my man's name that fought Tyson?
You're talking about not Pinklon Thomas, but Razor Ruddock.
No, not Razor. The English one.
Frank Bruno.
Frank Bruno, exactly. I was built like those guys, like more of it, because I came over from football, like more of a thicker, more explosive build, right? And you have to be careful about that because some muscles are made to explode in certain sports like football. Things come in explosion for like a 3 to 6 second process. Then you're able to take a break for about 10 to 12 seconds and do it all over again for a duration of 60 minutes, which is a football with a half in between. So where people get mistaken is a lot of people try to do that kind of training in boxing. We even were talking about how Tank was bringing that kind of training over in his last fight, and it almost cost him in boxing. Whereas in boxing, we need duration muscle. So you need white blood cells. So what John Tandy did to me was he boiled my body, but not in the sense where I'm losing weight and losing muscle by diet only, which can be, catastrophic in performance, but by literally exercising the muscle off of me. So we would do reps where I would take a military press of like just, maybe like 50 pounds or a little bit more, like 80 pounds. And I would do dang near like 1,000 reps as fast as I could of it, which seems like very easy at first. But then after you're going to failure, you will feel the muscle become fatigued, and people are like, okay, what is that going to do? well, you essentially are trying to turn yourself into Bruce Lee because the muscle is exercising and working so hard that it leans off and it burns itself off. It burns the mass off, and you have the lean muscle. And that is was the process of getting my weight down and conditioning and training the muscle so I could perform as I got there as well.
That workout, hold on, what is going on with my thing? That workout was always tremendous to me because, and I'm going to answer a question after I respond to what you just said, because I always take it seriously when I find a guy, a coach who's learned a science, and usually it's been passed down. But my guy, pugilism, I have to respond to this because so many people are really talking about the Bud Crawford Canelo weight. And pugilism spoke about me speaking to the bone density. Now, obviously, there are some people who did not see other videos that I had done. Sometimes I had done like reels, like short ones and clips of, because anytime I say there's a reason you don't choose this guy this time, there's always, but I'm not in their camp. I'm not in their camp. I don't know all these details that you need to know to actually make a guess, but you just go with common knowledge. Bud, when I found out, and this was even after the fight, but I knew before the fight that Bud was going to win the fight. And the only way that Canelo would win that fight is if Bud just did not show up in his training. He got overtrained and would gas out. So I said that early on in this prediction conversation, but I didn't carry that into the night of the fight. What I did say is I was pulling for Canelo because Canelo has done more for me and my own personal life and business than anybody in boxing other than like Mayweather. Like literally, he's my shows, my everything. Like Canelo has contributed something to boxing, not just as an individual, but in ways that people can't imagine. And so I root for him because he proved something years ago, a little bit over a decade ago, that you can overcome a bad loss and become a giant. I
Mm.
just rooted for him, even though people thought, well, you black, you should. I'm saying I ain't rooting against Crawford. You know what I'm saying? Are you crazy? But I can't stop rooting for a guy who's done so much for boxing. He carried it
Yeah, he did.
all the time.
Yeah.
All that time that Crawford was actually the best guy, he wasn't doing something to get the fights, and Canelo was. You get it? Like what he's given our sport. So I'm rooting in that light, and I'm saying this guy's bigger. You got to overcome that. But I didn't know that Crawford walked around consistently over 180 pounds, and
Yeah.
Andre Ward spoke to it.
Yeah.
And that's
I
why guys
told you
like
that too, though. I told you
Tim
that.
Bradley, huh?
I told you that also.
Yeah, and it could have went in my ear and slid out because I always listen when we talk. But I'm just saying, bias matters too. When you're biased, that matters. Like you, I asked everybody at our big fight event. I asked every single person, all the people that were Mexican, they were pulling for Canelo. Who's winning on the scorecard? Everybody who was Mexican had Canelo winning in the first 2 or 3 rounds. Everybody who wasn't was pulling for Grover. And bias matter. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Bias, it does affect the way you judge and make decisions. So
Yeah.
I'm there to eat the crow, but I'm rooting for my man because I want him to leave something with boxing, not just for his career and his kids, but Floyd left, he left so much. He left so much for the game to grow and expand. And you listen to all these fighters, they sound like them. It's almost like they utter every word. So pugilism, I had to respond to you, brother. You know, I have a personal thing when it comes down to Canelo. Like he's just done more. There are times, like I said, man, I can't explain it all. Doesn't matter. But we get into the sports science, and it goes to show you if you take time to gain weight and keep that weight on, that, but you got to have experts in your corner. That's the bottom line. If you got somebody who understands that, which I always give Crawford them, They're flowers. Bo Mack and those boys know boxing because they got a team and they think in order. They got organization. You listen. Go ahead.
Your boy, he went to your guy that Hopkins goes to the guy.
Yeah,
That,
Mackie Shillstone.
yeah, he went to him, and right when he said that, I was like,
Game over. Oh,
okay.
if I would have heard that, I would have been like, oh, game over.
Yeah.
Me and Coach Wade was talking about that. I was like, yo, we did a job. I mean, you probably seen a couple of the slices that we put out, but it was like he was mentored, under, Shillstone, and I could only say positive things, and he could only say positive things, and I'm just like, this guy's a genius, right? And I said the only way I would do it is to be a genius, and so I'm a fucking genius because I did it. I mean, that was my bar, to know as much as you need to know. That's why when you hear me talking, I'm talking from the science. I ain't talking from opinions, and I'm not talking from just a skill point. It's break it down. If you can't explain it and break it down, don't talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Don't give me that outer shell stuff. Like, I break things down to its very last compound. Now, my man Pugilism is talking about Tank. Tank will be fine. Okay, yeah, people are saying that. In this amateur days, he showed up gear and authentically explosive. I'm sure. Yeah, he was that dude. And plus he trained in Baltimore, and I know that world. I lived in that world. Trust me. I know he ain't nothing. He ain't running from no smoke. That's all them boys do. He will run circles around Jake Paul and show us how authentic he truly is. It's a good time to show off. Thank you, Pugilism. He's always in the building. But what I was telling people that you need to understand is that you need to really understand the science of conditioning the human body. And so most people, when we talk about conditioning, I say how I condition guys, and I'm gonna tell you, break something down. You're running, your lungs is exhausted. And why? Is because the lactic acid, the levels of oxygen and hydrogen that are all crossing over each other are not having control. It's not a balance going on. You have to be intentional about your cardiovascular when you're training, right? You need to know not just how to train your body and train your muscles, like Otis was just breaking down. And I love, like I said, that his people had a system. No matter who you were going to get in that system if you were a kind of big, bulky guy and muscles were a thing. I told you guys, there are always ways that you can find out how you should train. Your body is either an ectomorph, skinny person that has very little to no weight. Let's talk about J.J. Evans from Good Times. That's an ectomorph, okay? When you talk about the old Wayans brother, the youngest, Marlon, boom, skinny. Boom, skinny. Guys like that with them stick figures, that's an ectomorph. All right. Then you got the meso, and the meso is a person that he rounded, he got curves, he got muscles, he can pick up muscle really good. He is great. And if he stays active in his life, he'll always look good at 56 years old. Don't matter. Mesomorphs are always going to be the guy who you want to see walking down the beach because they're going to be in the game. Those are your cornerbacks. Those are your guys who are big enough to be the strong safeties on the team, or point guard or two guard. You look at Michael Jordan. That's a meso. All right. And then you got the endomorphs, the guys who better be careful if they even look at a sandwich. They can't consume carbohydrates in any kind of manner because they're already set up to be pear-shaped. They're overweight almost by default, right? Those are endomorphs. Got to know how to eat for each one of those body types. If you think you can eat like ectomorph, you're crazy. An ectomorph can eat carbohydrates. So I'm in between that lane, ecto and meso, right? As you get older, you are easier to gain some weight, but you always look like you're in shape. That's one of the things that you got to know about the human body, understanding it. And so when you condition yourself, what you want to do is make sure that you're running to make sure that there's a balance between the oxygen levels, blood, and muscle gain. If you're building up too much muscle, it's going to suck it. You cannot let your body get out of whack. You got to know who you are as a human, right? So I say, here's how you do it. You measure your cardiovascular. Otis is already giving you the muscular. Cardiovascular runs, making sure you do the tempo runs where you pushing your body into a way. All right, you're doing these distance runs, and every single day you're training your body in a different way. Now I got a complete training regimen. It got 6 different ways that you run to get your body to a place that you can actually run a mile in 5 minutes. In order to do that, you've optimized your nervous system in such a way that there is nothing that can stop you from continually be running like you're an Olympic runner. And that's when you're in control over your cardiovascular. You know how to breathe, you know how to move, you know how to strengthen yourself for that run as well, because there's a particular way you work your body out during those runs. Anybody watching who's curious about how you should actually do it, just type the word hybrid if you're on Facebook and Instagram, and there will be a link that pops up into your DMs and it'll take you right there. Just download that thing onto your phone and try it. If you got athletes, if you are a coach and you really want to know what you should be doing, and not just hey, go run 3 miles. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. So I just thought that would be a good little token, because Otis just gave you some smoke. He told you exactly what to do. Like, you do that with your muscles, game on. Like, boom, you're in the building. So, but if you do this with your cardiovascular and understand doing breath work, I did a poll the other day, and a guy said, "What is breath work?" And he's a fighter, and I was just like, I gotta show more stuff. So I took one of the running regimens that I did, and I put it in the PDF form, extracted it from a program, and I put it up there on our website so people can actually see what it looks like and what comes of it when you do it. So hopefully you guys will use it, because then you got hill runs. These runs you got to do up hills, like, it's very versatile and stuff. So Tank will need to do those
There's
kind of
actual
things.
science, and you could probably tell them a little bit about this too. There's
Yeah.
actual science behind the way that you breathe, even in the development of your body, not only in running or respiratory wise, but like, for instance, a term known as sweeping the abs, right? Which I
Mm-hmm.
learned from a Pilates specialist. Like, you
Yep.
can breathe in and hold, as you're doing something. You can pant, right? When
Mm-hmm.
you're doing something, you can breathe easy when you're doing something, and breathing easy will smooth and elongate your muscles.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Breathing and holding or whatever will,
Mm-hmm.
cut up or bulk the muscle, right? Uh,
Yes.
Panting will no doubt, like, define, like shred you up, like, to the
Yeah.
point where, like, that's, so when you see guys that have these incredible abs like that, or bodybuilders or whatever, they're doing
Yes.
abs and they're breathing, and I taught a group of boxers that in the gym, because I had learned it from these Pilates specialists, and they thought it
Mm-hmm.
was BS at first, until about 4 weeks later, they're like, "Yo, I got 4 out of the 6 pack for the first time in my life. Like, that, it works, like, so."
Yeah, absolutely. When you understand and box breathing, right? This is stuff that Navy SEALs use, because it's either life or death, it's fight or flight, it's kill or die. It's not a game. Like, you gotta understand the just not just the breathing, but the lymphatic system. It aligns everything, right? And so when you got people not understanding how important box breathe, 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 hold, 4 in, like, cycle in that, so that you truly understand how to control everything when you get to a place where you panic. And then when you get into muscle development, you start understanding how to do alkaline breathing, which is what you're talking about, different pants. That is something that most people have no clue about. But hopefully what's happening is that you're in a training session with training experts that understand the importance of this, and really understanding how important it is to measure yourself and know your training zones. Heart rate monitors are a real thing. It'll tell you through the duration of your run how many times you spike, how many times you down. So when Tank is in a sprint going up against somebody who's bigger, he has to understand how to conserve energy and how to do things in the ring, what we call craft. He has to be crafty and cagey in these spots. So when you're running and you're not really understanding how important it is to know exactly how should Tank condition himself, how should he run Monday through Sunday, what should be his recovery? I don't hear any of that when it comes to questions out here, but I do see here, how do you block a jab? How do you fight a taller fighter? But all of those things are how you fight them. The skills, you just got to learn the skills to go with that. Because if you don't know how to breathe, you ain't conditioned properly, and you don't understand how to give your lungs the capacity to fight against a bigger fight, it's irrelevant how many skills you're gonna have, because you won't get a chance to use them, because you're gonna be waking up in the locker room. Get it? So diaphragmatic breathing.
In order for Tank to win the fight, and people have to always remember that Jake Paul is no longer a YouTuber. He is actually a pro now. So with that being said, he trains to hurt people every day. So if he throws a punch, he can actually hit Tank and knock him out. You know, he's a bigger man. So he can't just go. That's why Tank is saying what he's saying. He can't just go in there like this is just some kind of playground type thing. But in order for Tank to win, he is going to have to move quite a bit, and he's going to have to move strategically. He's not going to have. It's going to be moving in spurts, fighting in spots, and using scientific location to win. Because weight-wise, this might be as far as a pro fight, this might be the most anybody's ever outweighed an opponent, and definitely this is the most anyone's ever gone up in weight. Usually, unless you're a heavyweight in all of America, most states are like 7 pounds, and I think the max that New York or Florida will give you is like 12 usually, that you can outweigh your opponent before they reschedule the fight. That's why you see guys that are underweight. A lot of times they'll weigh in with their clothes on or something, So it's gonna be something to see.
Well, I tell you, that kid, the juice that they had, I think Tank really knows what he has to do. And I think Jake is really excited. When I saw him, and I'm gonna speak to their team, right? So I talked with Jake, right? And so he hadn't really, these guys who are around us are reporters. They don't really know boxing. They just like boxing, and they report it, and they have to write things down that'll be right. And so what I decided that I was going to do is get a team of reporters, which I already have, and I'm going to school those guys from my vantage point of what boxers feel comfortable asking, and that are questions that they want to engage with you on. So I'm going to do just a camp, like a boot camp, on teaching those guys the vernacular that relates, or the boxer can relate to. So if you're a reporter, or you got a channel and you really want to know how to really get into the fighter's spirit and talk to them like they like to be talked to, then let me know by hitting me up in the DMs, because we're going to do that, because the game needs awareness. And a lot of questions are just redundant, and they're just irrelevant to anybody who's listening most of the time. And not knocking anybody, because we all trying to improve. But if you want something to improve, then you got to be somebody who's willing to step out here and help them improve. Now, when I go back to this and I talk with Jake, he double, triple what I talked about, because I threw one out there at him, because we sitting there face to face, just chilling, right? And it was just like, he heard me talking, and he looked up, and he just sat back, and it was just like, and he just did a double take. And I had my team, they were recording everything and stuff. And I said, I know your coaches, and your coaches all admitted that. I mean, not all, but the ones I talked to was like, yo, I've been watching your guy. I said, did you see the one that we put up the other day? He said, I've been watching your videos for years. I was like, okay, makes sense. I appreciate that. Most men ain't gonna just come forth and say stuff like that. But I appreciate the honesty. But what happened is he didn't feel like he had to gear up for an answer. And it was like out of everybody that was talking, it was just like boom. And so I'm going to post the conversation tomorrow or Friday. So y'all be tuning into the reels. You'll see exactly what I'm telling you. And that's the way fighters want to feel. They want to feel like, oh, yeah, this question right down my, you know what I'm saying? Because everything else is just redundancy. And
Yeah.
then he reached down and he was able to just kick it. And I talked to the CEO, Nakisa. And I told him, I said, I wasn't a big fan of yours. I just didn't understand your energy. And you just were too humble all the time. And then I realized and I looked him up and I saw what he did. And I told him, wifey had said, oh, check him out. And that conversation, not the conversation, but us engaging, you saw it. You will see exactly what I saw when he did it. And he was sitting down and he looked up and we was talking, and then he turned around and then he stood up and then he just opened up, and it was just like I realized, man, that's the coolest. I said, that dude is the coolest dude you want to meet. Like, I only watched him sit next to Jake, and it's like he just rah and Jake and stuff. And another thing about Jake, until you sit there and look at that dude in his face, you do not know that dude. Like that's the kind of dude you be like, wake up on Saturday morning and be like, yo, come over, watch cartoons, eat cereal, and sit in the bed and just be hanging out all day, all day. You know he can come up with stuff to do. But he's just that kind of dude that you can just do stuff with and just ain't never got to worry about not being able to trust him. That's what people really don't know about Jake, like who he is to the core. Like, he stand up for things. Obviously, he's doing a tremendous job with women's boxing right now. That's impacting boxing all over the place. And so I'm not telling people, hey, go jump on this bandwagon. What I'm telling you is he's changing and he's creating a lane. And every single person that is hating on that dude right now, he's doing the thing that you hate most for you and most likely your kids, and you don't even realize it, because everybody that is watching him is going to benefit from everything that he's doing, and he don't even care if you give him his flowers and stuff. So I just want y'all to pay attention, keep your stance where you are. I'm not telling nobody to switch sides. I'm just saying, when you judge people, I did it wrong with this Nikisa. I was wrong, like so wrong. Like, he's so the dude I would just chill with, like, not because of anything, but when a man opens up his soul, we had that time. Like, that was that. I was like, you different. And that's the kind of person that I see myself as to people. When you understand what that means, you can't open it up like that to people who don't understand, who ain't gone through enough. Like, most people, they get bitter at people who are successful because they're not willing to go through what successful people will go through. We will go through more, and you got to learn to go through more. But that means sacrificing things, the things that make you comfortable, your family, your closest friends, your high school sweethearts, your buddies, all that stuff. That stuff, you got to be willing to sacrifice that, because that's not who's going to get you to the level that you're trying to get to. You got to build a team that has that same DNA and has already walked that walk. Success leaves clues. So who are you around that's already super successful, possibly a multi-millionaire or a billionaire? Because that's where you got to get your clues from in life. So the pastor from your church, if you go to church, and people who have the other areas of your life, self-development coaching, personal development coaches. And so this is kind of what's surrounding that team. They put on for you guys, but it's different. I'm here to tell you. And now I know that it's a real fight because nobody sold me anything. It was me in observation what was actually happening last night. So with that being said, it's a real fight. And from New York to Miami, the exact same thing went through Tank's head. These dudes are some real dudes, and they making some real moves. And this gonna be a real fight. All you got to do is go back and look at the video. He realized this is a real fight, and we gonna fight. Tank might box some and do everything and just win the fight. It could be a knockout. Jake might get lucky, change history of boxing. Who knows? But you gotta watch it to see, because you ain't gonna just know. You know, people just thought they knew with Crawford and Canelo. 90% of people that was pulling for Crawford start pulling for him after this fight had been going for about 3 months, 4 months. People knew about it. They start leaning over back, like, yeah, I think Crawford could win. But ain't nobody, when they first announced it, believed it at all. Zero people, don't even front. I can go pull up data. I can go back to April and pull up all comments and what are you doing? He crazy. Canelo kill him. Like, but you believed in it and you had to watch it to find out. You got to watch this fight to see what's going to happen. Tank know he in a fight. Calvin Ford know they in a fight. It's gonna be a fight, man. It's gonna be a trip. But they opening up a new lane. They're opening up a new lane, and you are going to benefit from it. Promise what I'm saying. Because they brought the major network. They brought the big boy, and those people are working over there at Netflix. I got to work hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder. It was crazy to work with that level of professionalism. Insane. So there is that. But go ahead, Big O.
Oh, I just was just sitting back, just thinking about the fight in itself, like more the rules side of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I
Like
don't know. I know they switched the glove size.
yeah, like a real fight, glove size, weight wise, because I mean, I like
He can't come in above 195. Tank was like, I said 190. So they were going back and forth about that.
190, and how much is Tank gonna weigh?
He don't know.
150, 140 or something?
He'll probably, I think Tank is bigger than people understand him to be. I don't see him walking around. I know he was 160 easy, maybe
Yeah,
160.
I've heard of him being 160 before. I think he can probably make 150, but then I mean, and it's gonna come down to training too, because like you got to keep your weight on, but your feet got to be able to move fast. So like, you know, how are we gonna do that without shedding the pounds? But I'm more just wrapping my mind around about the sanctioning parts of it. Like, what is the state of Florida gonna do as far as their rules? Like, how are they gonna bend it to make it a legal fight? Like, if someone gets hurt, like, is there legal ramifications? Like,
Yeah, let me get into that. I see my man SP00 Spood asked me, did I go to the press? Yes, I'm a part of the fight promotion. So yeah, so I put some footage up on the page. So go check it out on at Master Boxing. You know, anywhere where we are on the social media, and it'll be stuff going up. You know, I got some real behind the scene conversations and some real footage for your guys to entertain and enjoy. My man Ryan Main said that, you know, if it's a serious fight, and it is a serious fight, Tank outboxes him easily, but can get hit. Can I get knocked out? A bigger man, a bigger guy like that. Um, yeah, he knows this. He knows. Look, man, bruh. Roy Jones said it himself. Everybody know Jake Paul can fucking fight. That's not the question. The question ain't that no more. The question is, can he figure out the ring enough to catch and set traps for somebody who's been in the sport his entire life? Otis can speak to experience matters, and every once in a while you get a unicorn who doesn't need the same amount of time. And Coach Larry Wade and I, would you guys like to see that full conversation? We've had several, but if you want to see the full one, I'll put the full one up of me and Coach Wade just chopping it up on some real shit. I'll put it up. I just using slices every once in a while, but I'll put it up and you can hear it from the horse's mouth, like their regimen, what they do, like what's real. Like, that's a champ. That's a champion camp. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how you train champions. If this dude's processor and he has the right courage, if his processor is aligned with his heart, his courage, his willpower, and his nervous system, he goes to specialists. He understands that stuff, a lot of it anyway. The most you can expect to understand in a 5-year period of time. Okay, so like Tank ain't stupid. Like Tank, no, oh, it's really gonna be a real fight. This dude isn't just big. Like he fought Mike Tyson. Anybody get in the ring with Mike Tyson, you got to be a little crazy. I don't care which Mike. When you watch that dude still move, you knew I'm gonna get at least 3 minutes of the scariest moment of my life. And anybody that signed up for that,
you got to be a little crazy.
Yeah, he told me last night. He said, I'm really crazy. I just like to fight. I don't give a fuck. You can't take something out of a person. Fighters are born, champions are made. If he do the rest of the stuff, he can be a champion. Like that dude's so locked in. He said, I got hundreds of millions of dollars more than all of these guys at the gym that I'm training at. And I'm out working them all like I'm the broke one. That's boxing. Everybody want it all, but they won't do what the dude is doing who got it all. Who walked in, he got a $5 million watch on. Be like, you got to do more than what you're doing. You're not doing enough. And if you are doing a lot, it probably doesn't have structure, frameworks, and science and lineage. He got all of that. J. Leon Love,
it's hard.
BJ Flores, when he was in that camp, gave him things that he would have taken 15 years to have to learn. Then he got with J. Leon, who got into the University of the Mayweather downline and learned from Floyd to become a champion, and would have never probably become a champion without that lineage. Got that, and now moved over here and given it to Jake. And I'm listening to J. Leon teach. J. Leon is coaching. Like, those coaches are coaching. Those dudes are not fucking playing, man. Like, they get paid to give me everything that's in your head. I'm paying for your 10,000 hours, champ. What does that cost? Give it to me. And they commit it because they don't have to worry about anything, because they don't have to have other clients or fighters, because he's paying for their time, and they can lock in and they can be in camp and they can go isolation. I'm talking to Coach Wade on the joint. I was like, you in a hotel? He was like, no, I'm at the villa. We over here, and I ain't gonna tell the people where they are. I'm here. I'm like, okay. He's like, that's what it is now. There's no distractions and stuff. People just got to understand. He was showing you a little bit of what Floyd showed you. He showed you what it actually looks like, but the only thing you guys can really pay attention to is the glitz and glam, not the vomiting, not the
Really,
transient recovery methods. Go ahead.
that's what I was gonna say earlier. Like when you were talking about that, and it's the same thing. It really does, and I learned this from being around Oscar De La Hoya, and I'm glad I did at an early age in boxing because it really, helped me
Yeah.
ascend the rest of the way. It takes a special individual to go out and make as much as a person may make in a year in one night, and then still have the ability to wake up and go do it again. Like it takes a special individual like Oscar De La Hoya and these people, like they were making at that time like $25 million, $50 million a fight, and it's like
Crazy.
I was like at his house up at Big Bear at his training facility, which is a group of houses that he has bought up there, right? And
Mm-hmm.
he beat me downstairs, waking up, to go eat breakfast. I mean, or actually go run before breakfast. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna beat Oscar, And he already down there, don't had his little coffee and like out there, like doing his dynamic stretching, like, you ready? Like, I was just about to send somebody for you,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, but see, you got
they
like De La Hoya, like
do that, like that, like what I'm saying. Imagine, I'm just
it's
trying
10
to
years. He's
like, because
saving you.
people can't really imagine, like, if you wanted to right now, like somebody say, like, man, I never had uh I never had a Egyptian dish cooked this way or whatever, right? And you like, oh well, shoot, let's get on the jet. Let's go over there and grab one right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you can do that kind of stuff to be able to tame your flesh, to be like, when that alarm go off, to be like, nah, you know what? I'm gonna chill this time because people are doing it for less. You understand what I'm
Yes.
saying? There are people making minimum wage that are like, you know what? Nah, I ain't finna go to McDonald's today. I'm gonna chill. You feel what I'm saying? So if you
Yeah.
if you got that kind of money and you've already and you have all these pleasures in life and you've already accomplished so much, like for you to be able to wake up like a Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather, a
Yeah.
Roy Jones, and all the other top athletes in the world, and go do that again, like my man Hussein Bolt or whatever. Like when you are like, what do you have to prove?
Yeah. Well, that goes to show you it came from the soul. It didn't come from
Exactly. So
these.
that's one thing I'm impressed with Jake is what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. And Roy told you guys go look at my reel. I put Roy Jones right in it. You know what I'm saying? He's like, yo, y'all ain't paying attention to Jake, then you're the stupid one. Like this dude is serious. You can't fake this. When you got control over who you can fight, that's a huge part of development. You can't hate that part. That's what you want in boxing. It's called leverage. And you can only get leverage when you position yourself to be leveraging people.
Yeah.
And so he's not leveraged fighters, he's leveraged the game. He's leveraged the game. My man Spood said he was asking, why did they go with 12s? Because Coach Calvin, who I was recently with over at the Hard Rock, said that he isn't fond of them fighting in 12s and he don't know why that was assigned. And Jake was like, I didn't. He said, your team, and Calvin stepped back, said, I ain't see no decisions being made on that. So,
I can tell you right now because I went through it myself. Because on when the reality show The Next Great Champ was being made, right?
yeah,
They weren't sure if we all were going to be pros or because of the different levels of the pros. Like for instance, I was turning pro. Some other people had like 8 fights as a pro, 6 fights, 4 fights. they were like, well, if somebody gets hurt, like Fox is concerned, right? If
Yeah.
somebody hurt, uh, we can be sued. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have these guys fight in headgear and 12-ounce gloves. And then De La Hoya was like, no. The show would be a joke at that point because they would be like, oh, well,
Yeah.
this is just a tough man competition or whatever, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet that like I was saying, because they're concerned about the weight difference and everything, and this has never been done in lawsuits and liability. I bet you that in brain damage and people don't realize it, but between 2012 to now, we've had the most people ever die in the history of the sport of boxing.
Crazy.
Between, but of the whole lifetime of boxing, from
Period.
1972 to present, we've had the most people die
Yeah.
in boxing between those years. So with
Yeah.
that being said, and that being the climate, I'm willing to bet that the commission is like, no, you're gonna wear 12-ounce gloves.
No, well, what happened is, Spood, and I got my man Jeffrey. I got you too. I'm gonna hit you up with. I'm gonna hit your statement too, but Tank's people, like Tank, ain't even thinking about that kind of stuff, right? He ain't like even with Floyd. Floyd didn't care because he knew Leonard Ellerbe knew what to do. Roger Mayweather knew what to say in that room when it come down to what we gonna wear, what they not gonna wear. Like that's understanding. And so that's where it really boiled down from. And now, if it was a commission, they couldn't move it like that easy. They even said do 8s if you want to. Jake said, I wear 4s, 2s. I don't give a shit. I just want to fight. Get it? And so you gotta let's start respecting that he's not a fighter. Fuck everything else. Just know you walk in there, like Mike Tyson said it. I was sore as hell the next few days after that. You know what I'm saying? And then didn't appear to be a lot of exchange. Look, somebody on your block in the hood when you was growing up that had a one-punch hitter quitter. You done seen the dude do it like 7, 8 times, knockout of the year kind of stuff. All right, let's act like that ain't not there. You know what I'm saying? Because these are people who fight, elite athletes. This ain't some cab driver that he's done that to, like Ben Askren. Thank God he was saved from his situation as of recently. And I hope he continues to recover too fully from that lung transplant. Then Nate Robinson, then you got Tyrone Woodley. Then he put down what's his face, Spider-Man from the UFC. Like people who don't even get knocked down, he knocked out. You just got to respect how he's taken boxing, made everybody look at him regardless. So let's say Tank is fighting a bigger guy. How did he pull that off? That's what you need to be asking. How did he pull that off, and why can't you? Well, guess what? The fact that he's doing it is helping you be able to do it. When you coaching your kids and you guys want to raise money, you do some kind of cool exhibition, because now people are becoming more familiar with exhibitions because they're being used more consistently. And guess what? It's not a lot of chump change being thrown around. They making real money doing this.
Yeah, true.
So just stop saying, oh, well, and start saying, there's a great chance somebody gonna get knocked out unconscious that night, because the guy who got a one-hitter quitter and the other guy who got a one-hitter quitter both fighting each other. One got the skill to pull it off again, and one got the power and a team. So let's just stop looking at it like it was Walt Disney versus a real Baltimore killer. It's two guys in the ring that can totally knock you out cold. It doesn't matter if he wearing a Mickey Mouse head. A knockout is a knockout. When you detach your brain stem from your consciousness, and your body hits the floor, I don't care who done it.
Let
That
the
person you
bodies hit
gotta
the
fear. Yeah. What you say? Yeah. I just want people to just say, hey, it's two dudes that can hit you with one punch and you out. That's what you're dealing with. And in a dream kind of weird match, because he had this written down at the beginning. He said, I'm going to fight this dude, this dude, this dude, and it's going to prepare me for this dude. What real fighter is doing that?
He had
That
Tank
is
down.
manifestation in a way. Now, there's a point in time when manifestation doesn't overtake your nervous system. Because what you can do in the gym don't always pack up and go with you to the boxing ring when you on fight night. Ask guys like who showed up like De La Hoya when he fought Pacquiao, when it was supposed to show up fighting a smaller guy who's fast, it didn't show up because the smaller guy whooped his ass. You got to be real with this stuff, man.
You
Boxing is
said
real.
that he had a Tank written down the fight from the beginning. E,
Huh?
you said he had Tank written down the fight from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
He got his whole hit list.
yeah. Well, share that with us because I didn't know that. Like, so
Oh, he ran him down. Tank was like number 5 or 6 on the list. And
okay.
then Canelo, and then Anthony, like he done wrote this shit out, bro. Like this ain't something he just like, oh, I'm gonna fight this dude. I'm gonna fight you. No, he wrote this shit down. That's manifestation. Like that's another level. That's what I'm saying. He's learning things about how to operate as an optimal human being, making things happen. While other guys is like, no, man, I had an amateur career. You know what I'm saying? You can't be like,
What you're
okay,
talking about is important to share with our viewers too, because what you're talking about is what I learned, you know, in life and in church. But a lot of people don't understand it. When you have you and a lot of people, if you watch BMF, you hear them say, "Dream it, touch it, achieve it." Right? You
mm-hmm.
know, like and so in other words, what Jake Paul is doing is, and what I learned on the spiritual tip is that you visualize it, right?
Yeah,
You visualize it. You have faith
speak
that
it.
that you're gonna get it. You live a lifestyle according to the Lord blessing you for it, right? And
Yep.
then last but not least, not last, but you write it down so it becomes tangible, right?
Yes.
What you just said, what Jake is doing, and then you go out and you achieve it, you know.
Yeah.
So
It's
and
just a
that's
process
what
then.
I'm saying. In order to really accomplish a dream or vision, you have to do these things. Even myself, if you all remember, if you watched the reality show I was on, I used to have a tablet, and I would write down my fight plan at least 10 to 20 times before the fight. I would just write it over and over and over and over. And what people didn't understand is I had a dream that I was visualizing, and I would write it down so it was tangible, and then I would go out and accomplish it. And sometimes, most of the time, 90% of the time, everything that I wrote out round by round that I wanted to accomplish in those fights throughout my career, I did it.
Yeah. That's just what we call process. That's a story process that someone is taught. You don't wake up and say, I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and this way, and it's gonna come. Like you someone had to say, hey, there's something you want, and you have the true passion and vision that you really can see it, then if you can see it, you can be it. But there's a process in that in order to make it really happen, Captain.
Yeah,
And that's what he's doing. And that's why he know that most of the guys that he fight won't be prepared for him, but he'll be prepared for them because they're underestimating what it actually takes because they've gotten an opportunity to box, but they haven't had the opportunity to get caught from behind and didn't see it coming.
yeah.
And they don't see it coming. And preparation is king. And that's the importance of understanding how much you should really take when you train your body. We go through these segments and talking about sports science, but science runs as deep as the spirit, not just doing push-ups and running hurdles and long distance runs and sprints. There's a lot more to go into, and intangibles matter. And if you don't take it serious, trust me, you will be one of those guys sitting on the other side of the fence saying, if I get another chance. But chance ain't always got another one. When you're talking about boxing, you need to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And so if you want to do those kinds of things and really understand what they look like, this is why people like me do what I do. I'm not after nobody's job. You know what I'm saying? I work for me. And we contributed to Netflix and MVP to bring something to the sport that needs to fill a gap, because people need to see what it's like when a person can actually get what they want in life by chasing it the right way and being very visible with it. And so just learn a little something. I think Tank's taking something away. Last night he said verbatim, I'm having a good time for the first time in a long time. Y'all haven't heard him say that. You haven't heard Tank say that. You haven't heard Tank say he's having a good time stepping away from that boxing and stepping into this boxing. And Jake Paul did that, being spoken through by his God, doing what he's been hearing and letting it happen. Maybe it was part of this was to help deliver Tank from his situation of hating the sport because he's committed so much to it, but it hasn't paid him back the other things. He got money from it, but he didn't get the thing that he needed internally. And he's feel betrayed by the boxing fans. And opportunity gave Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson said it. He gave me an opportunity, and who would have thought? But that young man has figured out so much of the game that has not been actually ironed out. Because if people can prevent you from knowing what the game really about and who's really benefiting, then you will never figure it out. And so that's what's going in reverse now. Boxing's being figured out and placed and put in order. And the people who are in control prior don't like that. So they're going to always try to keep a negative narrative out there. I just want y'all to pay close attention. Get what I'm saying? Whenever these guys from MVP put on a thing, there's all this pushback, but there's all these things happening for people differently than when you see a regular promotion. Pay attention. People are having groundbreaking. They're opening gyms. They're getting blessed financially. They're breaking records. Look at the paychecks, not what's on the paycheck, but look at the receipts of what's coming from this promotion versus these. These are monetarily only. These are painting legacies and futures. Get it? Like, pay attention to the people that win over here. Just look at the promotion. Start paying attention to the detail. It's more happening than you realize, and that there are more that they're rather willing to continue to say, because if it's coming out of their mouths, nobody wants to hear it because it's coming out of their mouths. Well, my dude, I'm credible in this sport for decades. You better listen to what I'm telling you. Look at the receipts. Go ask Serrana. Go ask Bumgardner. Go ask them why they ain't going nowhere. Because you'll see. I got to see last night. I see. And guess what? You know, thank them and let's say, all right, let's see what's going to happen. For the road to Canelo, for the road to Joshua, because those are going to happen. I don't, and y'all are going to watch because you want to see them get knocked out, or you want to see them win, or you want to see the sport benefits, or your kids or your fighters could probably get signed in a place that's really got the big vision for the people that are part of it. It's not a, like they say, boxing is like a slot machine. You put the coin in, do you get something? If not, you leave. It's more long game. It's building and building. So I'm just telling you guys what you might not know from somebody who's a real. I'm third generation. I'm third generation. I don't have to prove shit to nobody. I don't give a damn what they say on the internet. What I'm telling you is when I get to sit face to face with people, I'm going to see through their soul, right? And so, hey, check the boxes. That's all I can tell you. You know what I'm saying? So you got Gervonta Tank Davis versus Jake Paul, November 14th. It's going to be on Netflix if y'all didn't know. Netflix ain't messing up their brand for nobody. You get it? So you gotta press through that. They don't need nobody at Netflix. 300 plus million subscribers, ain't nobody even close. They don't need nobody. They can keep doing what they're doing, but therefore somebody had to say something that penetrated them in a way, and then they had to prove it, and then they had to come up with concepts and stuff like what you got to do to get on a network like that. You ain't got nobody in your corner that can push that door open. Even if you're in that industry, you can't get that door open. So yeah, so there's that. But just understand how important it is to know what to do when you're training for fights like that. And that's hopefully you guys go back to the beginning. If you just tuned in, we covered a lot and made sure we covered the press conference and the real facts behind this thing from top to bottom. This is one you want to save, and always remember to come back for more. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, type hybrid if you want to see what an actual running conditioning program looks like to really optimize your heart, your cardiovascular breathing, and all of that. We did it just for y'all. You ain't got to use it. I could care less because I don't wrote it, so I know what it do. I use it for my athletes. They blow past everybody. So it's like understanding that is just, it's my favorite thing, science. So, Coach, you got anything else to say? OG, what's up?
Well, to really learn the sport of boxing is if you're really a historian or in sports in general, then you know that nothing that these guys are doing is new underneath the sun.
Yeah.
In fact, they are reinventing
The wheel.
everything and not inventing anything. So with that
Bingo.
said, don't be mad at these guys. Be entertained and appreciate them opening up another lane of revenue or entertainment or whatever for yourself. And let's just, love each other and make the world a better place, brother. Because,
My God.
said there's other things out there that are way worse than creating another lane for boxing.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. And then on that last note, it's just like you can get the money and it can blow by, but they're teaching these guys how to establish it. And I got to say something to Coach Tank, and I know this will get to those guys. Tank really went in hard against Jay Leon Love, and he's told him that you went from a world champion to a YouTuber, and I'm like, what's bigger than YouTube? Your world champion's not bigger than YouTube. Like, when is that a bad thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, people now, if you tell kids that you're a YouTuber, that's just like being Frank Sinatra in the 60s. Like, that's the coolest thing you could be. So why are people still saying it like it's a negative thing? Go tell anybody, walk anywhere with a camera. You a YouTube, like that's like you're president of a company. Like, so
Well, you can't fight forever.
yeah,
So
but I just don't want Tank to look at Jay Leon did something that's sustainable. Working with Floyd is cool if you is real family, right? But it's not sustainable. He's working now where he has something and he's utilized in a way that makes him feel good. I never thought he felt good before. I thought he had people around him and he had got opportunity. I saw him last night. I was with him last night. He was with my son last night. Hell, my son is in there sparring with Rolly. You know what I'm saying? They balling, they slap boxing. Rolly was just like, this kid can box. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, it was crazy. But I'm like, these are good dudes. Like, these dudes found a way. They found a way. Somebody would say, I'm going to help boxing. I'm really here. I ain't going to ever hate nobody for helping boxing. Boxing need all the help it can get. Dana White, you know, the boys over there in Saudi, boxing need all the help it can get. And right now, boxing is getting so much help to move it to a place where it can actually be a respectable thing, and people will start paying attention to it who are not just from gyms or know somebody who fought or their uncle was a Golden Glove contestant. Like people who go to universities, people who are working in corporate jobs, people who will pay attention to our sports so it's back in the mainstream. That's what you want to be worried about. That's what you want to happen, and that's what these guys are doing. Because you're on Netflix, that's mainstream as it's gonna get. So let's own that lane. Everybody tune in to the stuff because they gonna be watching the numbers. So go watch all the Jake Paul versus Tank Davis video you can, because they checking the metrics. So go check it out, man. That's all we got. Coach Bradley signing out. Otis, anything else before you go?
That's it,
good,
man.
My man. Be blessed, guys. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you next time in the winner's circle. Save this video, refer back to, and like always, subscribe and follow for more.